Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today, Eric and I are going to review the pilot of Arrow. This is going to be the first of a long series on Arrow. Well, we'll see how long, because who knows how long this show will last. But Eric and I are
taking bets on getting canceled after the first season?
Eric and I are, well, it's CW. They don't seem to cancel anything, so who knows?
Yeah, that's true, too.
But Eric and I are planning on doing reviews of every episode of Arrow, and today we're going to do the pilot. This episode will probably be longer than normal, because, it's the pilot and there's a lot to cover. So, but after this, I don't think they'll be quite as long, but we're hoping to do this each time one comes out. So, Eric, it's really fun to have you back on the channel on a regular basis again.
Yeah.
So, yay for that. Well, pilot of Arrow. Were you looking forward to this after seeing the previews, or were you kind of uncertain, like a lot of people?
Well, my uncertainty came from a very different place than a lot of people's uncertainty. Mine was by the people working on the show. There's three people that are that developed the show. And it's Greg Berlanti, Mark Guggenheim, and Andrew Kreisberg. Mark Guggenheim has never written anything ever that I think is in any way readable.
Oh, wow.
I looked at his Wikipedia page just to see what he'd written, and literally everything he's ever written, I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. Oh, that's notoriously bad. Greg Berlanti, I don't know him from anything except that he co-wrote Green Lantern with Mark Guggenheim. But I looked at his stuff, and he's actually done some other stuff. And then Andrew Kreisberg, again, I don't really know from anything except he had a run on Green Arrow and Black Canary, which was painfully boring. Maybe I should reread that. Maybe it's better as three whole trades as opposed to by issues. But he introduced a woman who Green Arrow had saved and fell in love with him and stalked him, named Cupid. So I didn't
terrible.
have a lot of. It gets better. There's also a character that Black Canary blew out his eardrums using her sonic scream, on accident. He was just a passerby. Yeah, it wasn't good. So going into just based on that, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And I started seeing the previews, and the previews looked all right. And then I started seeing some of the stuff where like there was that shot in the trailer with Deathstroke's mask, and I started hearing Deadshot was going to be in the show. I'm like, well, that's interesting, because I always thought they're so scared of doing costumes in TV shows. I was like, well, Green Arrow spent the 70s and 80s fighting drug dealers and politicians. He's perfect for television. You don't have to have supervillains. And they get to TV show and they're like, yeah, we're going to throw in a bunch of supervillains. So I don't know, I went in with maybe it won't be awful.
I'm really interested to see what they do with Huntress. I was kind of excited to see that they were going to bring her in.
Is she in the first episode?
She's not, that I could tell. I was wondering about that.
Okay, because I saw on Wikipedia that there's an actress listed for her, but I didn't.
It's listed under recurring cast, not main cast.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't think she's been introduced yet. One thing that I noticed right out the gate was
someone on the recurring cast is his character's name is Well-Dressed Man.
Yeah, I that's so weird. Well, anyway,
is he the cigarette smoking man?
I hope he's really tall and old and is nearly always in silhouette. Anyway,
I hope he's the same actor.
He was in Smallville, so there's a precedent for it. The first thing I noticed right away was that was Smallville alum. The director for this episode directed the pilot of Smallville, David Nutter. And,
which is probably the best thing Smallville ever did.
Well, it was certainly one of the best, and if you compare them, this show has the same kind of production value. I actually thought the production value was higher than what I was expecting, but it doesn't have the energy that show had right out the gate. It feels to me a lot more generic than Smallville did right away.
I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think it's just a difference in the kind of show it is. I think Smallville was able to have energy because it starts with a meteor shower, and then immediately after that it goes to a nice warm family environment.
Oh, that's true. at the same time, maybe part of it too is just because a lot of its main characters are characters I was already familiar with. But
See, I kind of have that here, where
I
there's a lot of
didn't.
people where I knew things.
Yeah, but I didn't immediately latch on to people in this show, like I did there. I liked Stephen Amell as Oliver Queen, and he was the only, and luckily he's the main character because he was the only character that right out the gate I could kind of like look beyond the first episode and kind of imagine things they might do with them. A lot of the other characters were really kind of stagnant to me, and I'm kind of waiting to see this show get its footing. I gotta tell you, I liked it a lot better than I thought I was going to, but watching it a second time, I actually liked it less than I did the first time.
Speaking of characters, can I mention the character that I really, really liked? It might just be because I like the actor.
Yeah, who's that?
Detective Quentin Lance, who's played by Paul Blackthorne, who played Harry Dresden in the Dresden Files TV show.
Oh, is that who that is? Weird.
I really, really, I really like him in the Dresden Files, and he showed up here. I was like, oh, that's right. I remember seeing him in the trailer, and he's clearly set up as the probably going to be like the Commissioner Gordon type character.
Right. Yeah.
And I kind of liked him. I like his energy. I like what he brings to the part.
I thought he was fine. I just thought that the actor was doing a lot more than the script was. He seemed really generic
absolutely.
to me. And like I said, a lot of characters were that way. I found. Well, I guess I'm jumping right into negative stuff. I shouldn't do that. I was just going to say I found Merlin to be entirely unlikable.
I didn't find him to be entirely unlikable. I kind of saw him as like, okay, this is going to be the character that constantly reminds us what Ollie used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I got that from him too. I just felt like they were going too overboard in trying.
I
to show
also
us
have
that.
no idea how they're going to get him to the point where he's shooting arrows.
No, that's a good point. But I think that you can kind of assume that he will. I did get the sense from the show that all the characters that had namesakes of people that were in costumes will eventually get something like costumes and will go out and do things. I thought, and I don't know what you think.
Well,
about
knowing that this is a CW show, I'm going to assume that there's going to be a love triangle that he's going to lose.
Oh yeah, it's CW. Clearly. But I was just gonna say that I actually like, and I don't know what you think about this. I like the idea of making Speedy his sister.
I really like that. Something I thought just in general was a really interesting move was to have him have a family.
Yeah.
Because when he ends up on the island in the comics, his whole family's dead. And I thought it was really interesting, and I think, because there's definitely some shades of Batman to this show, I think part of that was separating him, whereas to kind of differentiate him from Batman, he's not independently wealthy like Batman is. He's kind of a trust fund baby. He's still under, he's rich because his mom is rich.
Yeah, and
he doesn't. His parents didn't die, and he doesn't have that money himself.
And also importantly, when we get to the end, we know that not only is he kind of under the thumb of his mother, but his mother is kind of a little bit sinister and maybe going to even be the big bad of the show.
Yeah.
So that's all going to be really important since that's where his money comes from.
Yep.
So so that's kind of an interesting thing. Like he's another really rich superhero, and so he's got that in common with Batman. But he's got to work totally underground, and if you start spending a whole lot of money, people are going to notice. So I think that's interesting. I saw something here that I don't think I've ever seen before, and I really liked it. Although I don't see how it can continue more than a couple episodes, and I wonder where they're going to go with it before it gets entirely unrealistic. And that's giving a superhero a bodyguard.
Yeah. Did you catch the bodyguard's name?
What's that?
Did you catch the bodyguard's name?
No, I didn't.
It's John Diggle. Andy Diggle wrote Green Arrow Year One, which they said was a major inspiration for the show.
Yeah.
So I assume that was some kind of reference to him.
I noticed somebody's name was Diggle someplace. I forgot that that's who it was. I think there's a couple other things like that too. There's some names, there's some names written down places. Like he's got Green Arrow has a hit list, and I also really like that, by the way, that he's got like this list of people he's going to go after. At least a couple of them are veteran DC writers.
I think Grell's in there somewhere.
So that was kind of cool.
I'm not sure if it's on the list, but I feel like somewhere Mike Grell's name is dropped.
How do you feel about just Stephen Arnell's or Amel's performance, just on the whole?
I really like it. I mean, it's not like an amazing performance, and I don't know whether this is him or whether it's the script. But something in the comics is that Oliver Queen and Green Arrow are kind of just the same guy. Like he just kind of puts on a costume. He's just kind of the same.
Yeah.
I like that he kind of has that. Like he's not all the time being like Playboy Bruce Wayne and then he becomes Green Arrow. And he might do that as the show progresses, but at least right here, he's not really sure how to keep himself secret. So
Oh,
like
he's bad at it. He's terrible
yeah,
at it. I mean, I mean, like compare this to Smallville, where people are just kind of dumbed down so that they can't tell that Clark Kent has superpowers, or Clark just gets lucky. Here, I mean, in the pilot, his best friend's immediately like, oh, wait a minute, you must be that Arrow guy.
there's like 3 people by the end of the first episode that you're like, if they don't know, they suspect.
Yeah, and they better do stuff with that quick, or I'm immediately going to lose interest.
Yeah.
And the bodyguard is one of them. He's got it.
Yeah. Oh, the body. Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And I wonder if he's going to be a confidant, or if they're going to write him out quick.
I hope he's a confidant. Like, I kind of hope he sticks around. And his name is John, so there's precedence to do like a Little John type character, and he's a big guy, so because they're definitely playing with the Robin Hood thing.
I'm glad you brought that up. I actually think that is a bit of a mistake. Not that they're playing up the Robin Hood thing, but that they're not making it more obvious that it's based on comics. Because for people like you and me who recognize some of these names, and clearly you recognize even more of it than I do because you're a big Green Arrow fan, and I'm only a casual Green Arrow guy, or Green Arrow reader. And by casual I mean I've read some and liked a lot and liked some of it. But anyway, I think it was a huge mistake to not just straight up call the show Green Arrow. And
oh, I agree.
Not only that, but a lot of the advertising had that line in it about Robin Hood. In these 30-second TV spots, we're dropping Robin Hood. And I've heard not one, but at least 2 or 3 people say that they've run into people that like people that they go to school with, or somebody in their family, or somebody who's like, hey, did you hear about that new Robin Hood show? So like people even seeing the pilot and not knowing what it is are thinking that it's like a modern interpretation of Robin Hood, and they think that now
it has that vibe.
Yeah, and it definitely has that vibe. And people have got to really be getting mixed signals when they hear a character name like Merlin.
Yeah.
Like, what is this show? So I don't know. I just think, and I'm not saying that that's a problem within the show. I mean,
I think that's going to go away real fast
character.
once supervillains start showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Once we start doing things like having Huntress and Black Canary actually in costume,
and Deathstroke and Deadshot.
Let's talk about Laurel Lance for a minute, because
why is her name Laurel?
Because as far as I can tell, it's just because CW has this thing where they think they're being clever whenever they like name somebody like that. I mean, they did it with the title, and they did it with this. I read things before the show, and watching it twice, I didn't catch a name drop of it. I guess I wasn't listening hard enough. But I
heard that they say her name
before
at some
the show.
point.
Well, no, they say her name at the end.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. At the very end, they actually do this giant name drop, where they have where they have Merlin call her Dinah Laurel Lance. Like, they make a big deal out of it. And
well, on Wikipedia, it's Dinah quotations Laurel Lance. I'm like, how can you possibly get Laurel as a nickname?
Well, Laurel's not a nickname. Laurel is her comic book middle name. If you look her up, if you look up her comic book character on Wikipedia, it says that.
I know, but they're saying it like it's a nickname, or I guess I mean, I guess I know 1 or 2 people that I call by their middle name.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, people do, and I think that the quotation marks there is just because that's what she's called. But yeah, it's cutesy and it's silly. But what I was going to say is, I read some things before this that said that the name of the firm that she works for is called CNRI. And I don't know if they've kept that in there or not. I didn't catch it, but it might still be in there. But that's a little cutesy, isn't it? Because it's like canary. I hate
Oh,
that.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's silly if that's in there.
Okay,
So I don't know. So they're
can
doing
I say
some
something?
kind of stereotypically goofy CW things with the show.
Can I say something right off the bat that I absolutely love about her?
Yeah,
She's not a reporter.
no, and that's good. They gave her a job that you can kind of buy in our modern age.
Well, not just that, but it fits her comic book character. That she would do something like that. But it's such a like even in like superhero movies, they have a tendency to go to the girlfriend just being a reporter, whether that character was a reporter or not in the comics. It's such an easy out. I love that she just wasn't a reporter at all, but she had a job that would get her involved with plots.
You know, you
So
mentioned
I really like that.
you mentioned that that Oliver Queen doesn't really know how to, what to do with a secret identity and all of that. And I do think that at the end they're kind of playing up the idea of him trying to do the kind of mock Playboy thing, especially with the way that he handles Laurel. I guess we have to call her that because that's what the show's going to call her.
I loved that scene, by the way.
Oh, really? I didn't care for it.
I loved that he was just like, yeah, I'm a bad guy. I haven't changed. Which to me, him saying that, I would immediately raise red flags to me. Like, yes, you have. You never would have said anything like this before. But she's just like, well, at least you're more honest or something like that. But I don't know. I dug that he was just like, at least here in the pilot, he's it's kind of like that scene in Iron Man where when Pepper comes to Tony and he's like, there's the next mission and nothing else. It's kind of that like, look, I'm not going to get involved in anything. I don't want to get involved in a relationship or anything. All that matters to him is being Green Arrow.
Yeah, and that's what it is. What I don't, and I guess you're right. I guess what's good about it is that he hasn't already been trying to like get back with her or something. So like he's not jerking her around. I mean, like the
Yes, I
first.
really like that.
So I don't know. Maybe it was my preconceptions that maybe not really care for that because I was sort of looking to the future and going, okay, they're just going to jerk us around this whole show. Where like, and
I don't
maybe they
think
won't.
so.
I've seen that scene so many times in things like Smallville and other superhero things where the
Where does
hero
that
has
happen
to
in Smallville?
or like well and also we had it in Spider-Man 2, the whole I don't really love you scene because I can't or you'll get in trouble. You know what I mean? Like just the kind of
See, what I think is different about this, and what I like about this,
yeah.
is he's not. It's not like Smallville where he's trying to come up with some kind of excuse. He straight up says, "I'm a scumbag. You shouldn't be." Like I liked that. I liked
But
that
see,
he's like, look,
but he's not a scumbag. It was clearly a lie, and she
he's not a
clearly wasn't
scumbag anymore, but he used to
right.
be, and he doesn't want to hurt her anymore. I don't know. I thought it worked in the context of the episode.
Yeah, I don't know. It was, and I don't mean to belabor that scene. It was just, it was a little. For me, it was a little strange because he was kind of being nice to her until he looked at his phone and saw that the guy didn't pay him like he was supposed to, and then it was, oh, now I got to be Green Arrow, and like it all clicked at that point where he was like, oh yeah, I really can't have a relationship with this person. Where like it was a character mode that switched really fast. That's a very CW thing.
Can I tell you what doesn't work in this show?
What's that?
Spray painting his eyes.
Yeah, I didn't really like that either.
I don't think it looks awful, but I there's a huge suspension of disbelief that he goes from being Green Arrow to literally like 2 minutes later being in his party and there's not like a smudge of green.
That's a good point. How does he get it off that fast? Some fans have asked why isn't he wearing a mask? Now Green Arrow doesn't always wear a mask, right?
No. After like the first issue or so of the Mike Grell run, somebody's like, that doesn't really hide your identity, right? And he stops wearing it. He doesn't wear it for, let's see, Grell did 80 issues, so a little up until I think he dies, he doesn't wear a mask. So for a good long time, he's not wearing a mask. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that he doesn't. It's one of the few superheroes that you can kind of get away with not putting a mask on, and they're still trying to hide his face somehow. And I can understand
Him and
that.
Green Lantern.
I can understand that realistic. What's that?
I said him and Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that realistically. Why they would want him to try to hide.
And
his
given
face
that he's
somehow.
always, at least so far, he's always in the shadows and he's got a hood. Like you really don't get a good look at his face. It's not unbelievable that you can't get a good read on him.
I was a little bit surprised, and I had to look this up. I didn't just know this, but
Also, thank God he doesn't do a Batman voice.
Yeah, Yeah. I was also surprised that they have already adapted a New 52 character
Have they?
in Walter Steele, who
Is
apparently was introduced in the first episode or the first issue of JT Kroll's New 52 run.
I read the first issue. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I would have to go back and read it myself. But I looked it up because
I do intend at some point to pick up that trade to review it.
It sounded very much like a comic book character, so I looked it up. I was like, who's Walter Steele? Surely that's somebody I'm supposed to know. And like I found just a couple of entries where you know, wiki things that was just, this guy was in this first issue and that's all they had on him. And I was like, that's weird.
Can I tell you what I kind of feel about the entire pilot?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you remember like a year ago when I was going to do that Batman radio drama thing?
Yeah.
And I sent you the script and you're like, you crammed so much in this first script. That's what this episode felt like. Like, it really felt like here's Deathstroke's mask, and here's Speedy, and she's doing drugs, and here's Black Canary, and here's Merlin. Like, it really felt like in the first episode they were trying to cram as much stuff into it as possible.
Absolutely. It definitely has pilotitis to the max. And what I've always called pilotitis is a first episode that does nothing but tries to introduce you to all the characters and give you as much as they possibly can all at once, and doesn't really tell a solid story on its
own. That was actually something I'm kind of curious to see going forward. Based on the first episode, I can't tell whether this is going to be something like Smallville, where each episode is kind of standalone, or if it's going to be more arcy. I can't tell based on the pilot, because based on the pilot, it could totally be arcy and be a running show that maybe has a villain, you know, show up every couple episodes. But at the same time, I could really easily see it just like, you know, you look at the pilot for The Incredible Hulk, and that could have been the pilot for a show that, you know, had a running continuity.
That's
and
true.
It's not. It's an episodic thing. So I can't tell based on this pilot whether if it's going to be a running continuity type series and not just like, you know, one and done, you know, sweeps week. Here's a plot point. One done. Finale where, you know, something happens that's going to be picked up on next season. I'm hoping it's more arcy, and it runs a little bit, you know, each episode into the next a little bit. And if that's the case, I'm more okay with the pilot because it's setting up a bunch of plot points.
From the pilot itself, I'm totally with you. I don't think you can really get a sense of whether it'll be arcy or not. From other things we know about things they're going to introduce as it goes on, I would kind of assume it's going to be more arcy, just because there are so many recurring cast members that you get the sense are going to be introduced and then keep popping up.
Can I tell you what I love and
more
hate
of that
in the pilot? That's part of all that setup stuff. The Deathstroke mask.
Is that actually in the pilot? I didn't even notice it.
Oh, you didn't see it? Yeah, when he like it's in the very beginning when he like shoots that pile of cinder or whatever, and it lights on fire. There's like a pan around, and there's an arrow spiking that mask to the ground, like in the pilot or like in the trailer.
I see. Okay.
My immediate pet peeve is that it has two eye holes. Deathstroke's mask only has one eye hole. He's got an eye patch. But the other thing is, why is that on the island? Like, maybe it'll be explained, but like that's really weird that that's on the island. Maybe they'll do like a Batman Begins thing where like Deathstroke's the guy that trained him, which would be interesting, I guess. But I thought it was really weird that on this deserted island where there's only Oliver Queen, there's Deathstroke's mask.
I gotta tell you though, I don't think that we can be certain that there was only Oliver Queen, because
that's true.
There are definitely. I mean, like I think you're thinking about the comics, and I think that they clearly are doing other things in the show. I mean, like he's got that rock that he got from the island. I wondered where he got it. Clearly,
and China White shows up next episode.
Things on it,
and she runs a drug trade on the island in year one. So
okay. So I'm just saying. I mean, like I got a sense from it that perhaps we'll get a lot of flashbacks to the island. I've heard some people call it kind of reverse Lost.
That was me.
Where, was that
I
you?
said that to you.
I've heard other people say it
Yes.
since then. I couldn't
Oh,
remember.
okay.
It's getting made fun of a lot for being kind of lost the, just because it's got an island, I guess. But anyway,
And they mentioned Lost.
yeah, and they mentioned Lost. I don't know.
How
I
did you
kind of
feel
wondered if that was
about the
necessary.
references?
I could have
There
taken
was
it
a
and left
Lost
it.
reference. There was a
It was
Twilight reference.
it was very again. It was very CW. I've gotten used to these shows. Where I mean, Smallville did it. A lot of other shows that I've seen on that channel have done it, and where like I guess I just get kind of used to, okay, this is going to be very now, and it's not going to hold up as well years from now
I
because
kind
of
of
all the
liked it.
references. Really?
Um,
I didn't care for it myself. I would have liked it to have
here's
been a little bit more timeless. Because other than that, I
here's
didn't really feel like it was especially 2012. And
okay. Well,
I liked that about it. So I wish it wasn't so
here's
referencey.
see. I kind of liked that it was referencey because it it gave modern day viewers, especially the kind that don't read comic books and don't even know that this is a comic book show, um, it gave a really strong sense of how much he has missed because
Oh, that's a good point.
he's not gone for 5 years in the comics. I think it's like 6 months to a year. 5 years is a really long time. Um, and so I felt like the reference to Twilight, the reference to Lost, and the reference to they go through like every Super Bowl he missed.
Yeah,
I
that was
liked it
cool.
because it gives a distinct context for like look how much look how much is embedded in our popular culture that he's completely foreign to.
That's a great point for the pilot. I just get the sense that they're probably going to keep running with that. And I'm not sure that I need that all the time, but no, that's a good point. I actually kind of liked it. Not that you say that, I actually kind of liked the Twilight thing, just because he wouldn't know what that is, and it was such an
Well,
overnight phenomenon. Yeah, that's
well,
great.
and what I liked about the Lost is that uh, 5 years means he would have just seen the beginning of Lost when everybody was getting into it.
Yeah,
It really works that he's like, oh, and at the end of Lost they're all like dead or something, um, because it works time frame wise. I liked that. I thought that really worked. I think the key to references like that are to use things that have actually passed by the time the show is gonna come out. I remember an issue of Ghost Rider that came out in between seasons 1 and 2 of Hero, where there's characters talking about the episode where Hero goes to the future and how cool he is. I was like, wow, man, like you must have written that like the week it came out, and this comic didn't come out till like 6 months later, so your comic is already dated. I feel like the way that they did the references, it grounds it in the now, but because it's referring to things that are already done, it's not as bad. Like it didn't come out and like he's if this had come out like 2 years ago and he's like, well, what's going on in Lost? And they're like, I don't know. They're on the island. They're off the island. Like, it doesn't date it because Lost is now over. You know what I mean? Or it
yeah,
doesn't
no,
date
that's
it
a
as
good point.
badly.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So I didn't hate that as much.
Do you think that they're going to continuously flash back to the island?
I'm interested to see what they do with it because I could see two things. One is they keep flashing back to the island and things are slowly revealed to us. Or they could do like a Highlander thing where they flash back to the island and you see like a lesson he learned on the island and how it runs alongside, the current episode,
Well, that
which
would not
is what
just
I
be a
really hope they
Highlander
don't
thing.
do.
That would also be a Lost thing.
That's true. You're right. That would be a lost
That
thing.
that would be exactly that format.
See how dated my references are?
Yeah, yeah, but it's okay because it's over now.
Yeah, Highlander's been over since like 90, 95, 97, I think.
Well, we're about a half an hour in. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Overall, do you think that this series has a chance to have legs?
Yes. Overall, I think my real strong feeling on this series is this is a pilot, and if a lot of shows their first season is weaker than like what they'll become, and they
Oh
keep
yeah,
kind of growing and evolving.
absolutely.
If this is indicative of like their lower quality stuff, I think it has potential to really get better. I think it's a pretty good pilot. It's not fantastic, but it's good enough. Um, the things that they changed, like giving him a family and things like that, they don't really bug me. Like, if this had been the first issue of Green Arrow in the New 52, I would have kept reading. Like, it's interesting enough and it's different enough that it doesn't drive me away. But I enjoyed it. I like their take on Oliver, although he needs to be a little bit more jokey. Um, as much as it's cram packed with references, I did enjoy some of the references, and I am excited. I mean, they've announced a number of villains for the next couple of episodes. I'm excited to see Deadshot. I'm excited to see Deathstroke. I'm excited to see Constantine Drakon. I'm excited for a lot of this stuff. I'm really interested to see how much of this how much how much comic book stuff they put in this. And the thing that I was really worried about going into it, which was Green Arrow is an extremely political character. He is the voice of the left in comic books. And I was like, there's no way that they're going to be political. And they're not necessarily political, but the fact that he's going after like rich people is tiptoeing in just enough in the right direction. Um, that I kind of I like that. I like that he's not just going after bad guys per se. He's going after, rich bad guys, and that kind of works with the whole liberal thing. So I there's a lot of stuff in this that I think built on can become really good. The pilot in and of itself isn't amazing, but there's enough there that gives me hope for the rest of the series.
What I think really works about him going after the rich people that he's going after is that it's not just because of who they are, but it's because his father gave him a mission.
Oh, and
And
can I mention how dark that is?
yeah, it
I
is
was
really dark.
shocked when he blew his brains out. I was really, really surprised that that was in a CW show.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that too, and I think and I'm kind of hoping that that helps set the tone for the rest of the series, because it's going to be really uneven if the rest of the show doesn't match that. But
Yeah.
I got the sense that it probably will. But like I said, I like that he's got a personal reason for what he's doing, and it isn't just kind of a vendetta that doesn't come from any sort of a place. He's got a mission. It comes from his father, who's now dead, and it's kind of a sins of the father sort of thing. His father says, "Right my wrongs." And so now he's going out and righting his father's wrongs. I liked that he didn't come back, walk around for a while, and then suddenly come up with, I think I should be a superhero. I liked that he had this in his head, like as he was coming back, and that he was actually training on this island to do what he does when he comes back.
I think that's great, is that because it happened on the raft, he's spent the past 5 years getting himself ready for this.
Exactly. What really works about that is that you're able to actually have him in the costume within the first 20 minutes of the first episode, and that's difficult to pull off usually, especially when you're trying to establish all these other characters. You can't have him go, have the light bulb of, hey, let's be a superhero, and also establish all these other characters. So I mean, we get the sense that there's a lot of stuff we didn't see that leads up to him doing that, and I don't know, for my money, I kind of bought it. So I think that's
And
all
I'm
really
kind of
good.
intrigued. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, I am too. I think I got to be honest with you. If this was on any other network, though, I don't think that it would have any chance of lasting past 13 episodes.
No, no, no. It would last half a season maybe. I'm actually kind of glad it's on the CW because I like it enough that I want it to continue, and it's on the network that doesn't cancel shows.
What I'm looking forward to is seeing different characters kind of get their own episodes as this goes along, so that we can really, flesh them out. Because, like I said, my biggest complaint is just that from the pilot, and a lot of pilots are like this, so this is not a giant complaint. But from the pilot, there really, as I said, is no character besides Oliver that I'm really immediately latching onto. I think I like his sister maybe than I like anybody else, but that's more from a conceptual place.
Well,
Um,
I think particularly with Laurel and Tommy, I'm not necessarily latched onto their characters, but I'm interested to see how they get them to the places they're gonna go. If that makes sense. Because
yeah,
like again, like I really want to know Why does Tommy start shooting arrows? Like I want to see the transition to Merlin, type of a thing.
So yeah, that's I think that's all I've got to say about it. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. I will definitely watch it. It's definitely it was I thought the pilot was decent enough, and honestly a little smarter than I thought it would be. Just with the idea of really exploring how difficult it would be to hide a secret identity in right now in 2012. I thought that was, or just in modern time. I thought that was played well, although I'm afraid it could get really unrealistic as time goes on. I didn't get a chance to mention this earlier. I guess I better say this real quick before we quit. He just straight up kills people,
Yes.
and I don't know that I like that, because I'm not real sure what really separates him from just a straight up vigilante.
Um, Green Arrow does do that in the comics sometimes.
Really?
He, well, you got to read Longbow Hunters. We're gonna review that later this week,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. That's kind of the first time he does it intentionally because he does kill somebody in an accident in the Dennis O'Neil run. Um, he does kill people, not as much as he does here. Um, Here it's more like the Punisher, where in the comics it's kind of more of a he will do it if he absolutely has to.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
well, and the thing is, I gotta look at this as its own piece and not just say, well, if it's in the comics, it's okay. The thing in the show is, and I'm hoping that I get a better sense of this from the second episode onward. I couldn't tell if that was supposed to just be this is how he operates, so it's all right, or if he's gonna have some kind of a character arc where he quits doing that.
yeah,
They didn't
I'm
play
not
it
sure if
up
it's just
as
like this
being a
is John
problem.
McClane and he kills bad guys,
Yeah.
or if it's something he's gonna have to deal with. Because
Tonally,
if
I had
that's
a
what they
tough
want to,
time telling what they were going with there.
if well, it's got such a dark tone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's if they just run with it, like James Bond, he just kills people. It's fine. But if they want to deal with it too, I think it works that way too. It really just like if they just never addressed if he just kills people left and right. Lots of heroes do that. It's kind of uncommon in a superhero thing, but
Yeah, I'm going
almost
to have
all
a tough
action
time
heroes
with
do
that
that.
if he's ever going to start working with that cop, though.
Maybe that'll be the transition. I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe so. I had a tough time not just straight up comparing it to the other superhero shows that have been on the CW, considering the fact that I wanted to mention this too, considering the fact that this is now the third version of Dinah Lance we've had in 10 years on the CW, which is amazing,
Can
really.
I say that just based on the first episode, I like her better than Birds of Prey, Dinah Lance?
Well, yeah, but that's not hard.
And I don't think I ever saw the episode of Smallville where she shows up, so I'm
No,
not sure if I can
no, she's
compare.
in several.
I don't think I ever saw her.
Oh, okay, okay. She was okay. But yeah,
That was
no,
after my time.
I think I like this. I think I like this actress quite a bit from what I've seen of her so far. But again,
I like her. She's not fantastic, but she's not on the screen and I hate her.
I can
Like
see her in that
like
role. I'm just
like
saying that, like, if she ever puts the costume on, I can see that.
yeah, especially since she's a lawyer. I'm sure we'll get a plot somewhere where we had in the first episode that her case wasn't going the right way because the other lawyers had so much money type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot better than I thought I was going to like it. Um, I'm I'm excited that we have a TV show with Green Arrow and it's got a darker tone. And more than that, I'm excited that we have a TV show that in the first episode has a straight-on superhero mask. Of the three TV shows from the CW with superheroes, this is the first one to do that.
Yeah, that's right. It's the first one that has felt really like it's not ashamed of. Well, I don't want to say ashamed. Smallville wasn't ashamed of being based on comics. I don't mean that. I just mean that this is the first time I think that they've tried a show like this where they're just completely embracing all the comic book stuff.
Yeah, and I think what I really liked is that by doing that so early on, just with that Deathstroke mask, it really breaks a lot of comparisons that I think it could have had to like it's not trying to be Nolan. It's dark, but it's clearly not from the get-go. It's not uber realistic, and I like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. I was really ready to be like, oh God, what did they do? But I guess we'll see based on the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I had one more complaint I meant to mention earlier. I just didn't get around to it, and that is the voiceovers were terrible.
They were not great.
I have never heard a protagonist in a show like that have voiceovers where he sounds like he's doing a different character when he's talking in the voiceover, and I got the impression that maybe that was the first thing they recorded.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Did you ever watch the Aquaman pilot?
No, I didn't. I never got around to it.
What's her name? Who plays Clark's mom in Smallville?
Yeah, I don't know why my mind is blanking right now.
She does a voiceover at the beginning of that as Aquaman's mom, and that's not so great.
Oh, is it pretty bad?
It sounds like she's just kind of
a Netto tool.
Yeah, it's a Netto tool. It sounds like they were like, hey, you want $10 to read these 3 lines? But the rest of that pilot was really good. I'm still down if they want to make that show.
Isn't that ironic considering who played him?
Yeah.
And now Green Arrow's got his own show and he didn't get to play him.
Can I tell you right off the bat what I really enjoyed about this pilot? The show in general, and I knew that just from the trailers that gave me hope.
Yeah.
They didn't make him like 17.
Yeah.
Because when they were going to do the Aquaman thing, the whole thing was that he was going to be like young Aquaman learning to be Aquaman.
Yeah.
They were going to do that Grayson's TV show. They decided not to do that. They didn't do cool. The young Green Arrow show.
Well,
and that's really appreciate that.
Smart of them for trying to maintain any kind of an audience, because guys like us might actually watch it then.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that about wraps it up for us. I think we talked as long as the episode was, Eric.
We had an extra minute when I started recording, and we were at 43 now. So yes.
Well, everybody, thanks a lot for listening to us talk about Arrow. Boy, I'm gonna keep wanting to call it Green Arrow. I really hate the title.
I was just looking on the Wikipedia page, and he's listed as Arrow, not Green Arrow. That's gonna annoy me.
That's so weird. Oh well, at least he's wearing green.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for listening to us talk about Arrow, and we'll be back with you again next week talking about the next episode. And thanks a lot. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And we'll see you next time.